Simon, back here, Manchester United, we now know, face a 40-game season, their shortest since 1914-15. Michael Carrick will be taking over later today as the interim who succeeded, the last interim. But the financial hit of no Europe, coupled with early cup exits, could see United pursue a lucrative mid-season friendly to make up some of the losses. While they're... Yeah, but that's what's expected to happen. While their rivals are competing for titles, trophies, major honours, will United really contemplate competing in a mid-season friendly or two to help balance the books? Is that where they've got to?
Didn't they? Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, what's the big deal about that? The World Club Championship was not a meaningful competition a few years ago, and they dropped out of the FA Cup to play in it once.
It's not where Manchester United want to be.
No, we know that. But what's the issue with them playing in a competition?
It just
they're not playing any games.
It demonstrates this season how far they've fallen.
We know that. We know they're out of the League Cup. We know they're out of the FA Cup. We know they weren't playing in Europe. We knew that from the beginning of the season. We know that really and truly Manchester United's focus was to try and get as high up the table as they possibly could and get into Europe next season. So if they achieve that and they play a competition, what's the big deal? The fact they're still the draw, the fact that they still can command and demand huge fees, the fact that we spend more time on this football club than any other football club, and even more on football clubs that are successful, tells you the draw of Manchester United. And also, it's interesting to see what Man United are going to do financially, because I think Man United are not cash rich at this moment in time. Despite my pushback against Jim Ratcliffe's ridiculous assertion a year ago, they had no money. I think to go again with transfer fees, I don't think they've got it. So who's going to put it in? I don't think Ineos are going to want to put it in anymore. And we know the Glazers aren't, and they can't raise it through debt. So the interesting thing is going to be what United are going to do to be competitive. Because all well and good keep paying off £10 million here and £14 million to Ranić and £10 million to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and whatever they're going to pay, probably not huge amounts to Amorim. Yeah, well, 12 million to Amorim. So what else, and they keep on buying players that everyone keeps on telling you are crap and they're not worth the money they paid. Somewhere along the line, United are going to run aground, because I don't think Ineos are going to want to keep pumping money in. No. We know the Glazers won't put a copper coin in. No. And they've got £1 billion of debt on their books through stadium finance, or for the financing that was put in place when the Glazers bought the club in the first place, and the transfer debts they've already got. So it's an interesting time for Man United. So, of course, they're going to go and take commercial opportunities because they need the money, perhaps.
An interesting time, a challenging time.
Yeah, interesting, challenging.
Because they've got to do something.
Some people are interested by challenges.
Well, I mean, they played 30 home matches last season.
And they got 160 million in revenue.
And they got 160 million in match day income. Based on the figures from last year, they're now seeing a £53 million drop in match day revenue this time around.
But they've also adjusted their squad costs as well. They've reduced their wages, haven't they? They've taken other costs out. So there is some tightening of the belt. Of course, that was all portrayed in a certain way as mean-spirited and curmudgeon-like. Not the fact that people got money for old rope in the past, and perhaps it was a correcting of what people were getting for doing very little. Not that was ever catered into the equation.
Know they were doing very little?
Because if you can get rid of them and not need to replace them, then they must have been doing not much in the first place.
Yeah, it was a pretty unseemly cull when they get rid of a bunch of people.
Yeah, in your view. But in a commercial view, when people look at it and go, I walked into a football club and I went, look at the diabolical liberties that are going on here. Look at what's going on here. Look at the amount of fat and wastage and people not doing their jobs very well and how much money is being spent. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because someone else is paying it.
Yeah, but they're quite happy to burn money when they appointed, then sacked Dan.
But it's not burning. That's the nature of the beast. It's like when Arsenal. When Arsenal turned round and said we can't take players' contracts and we can't reduce them down during COVID, but we can go and spend £100 million footballers. They're two different budgets. They come from a different perspective. In order to be a football business, you've got to have football players. In order to be able to trade and sell and monetize a football club and utilize the assets that you've got to be able to create outcomes in the commercial world, you buy and sell players.
Right.
It's like Coca-Cola laying off people but still doing advertising campaigns. So if they lay off 100 people, yet they still advertise on TV, is that a bad thing? No, the business needs to go forward.
So in the current climate, what new football players can we expect to walk through the front door?
Well, it's interesting. Is my point. My point is it's interesting because if you look at United's finances, it doesn't look like they've got a lot of money around, and they're going to rely heavily on Ineos.
Yeah. So United as a talking point, and you've just conceded that it's interesting.
Totally.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always interesting.
That's why we're talking about
it. But it's interesting because I argue that Man United are the biggest club in the world, or close to it. Other people then push back against
probably not, are they?
Not now, because their achievements are being diminished. But I tell you what, take any other football club, take Madrid, take other football clubs, and go achieve nothing or very little for 12 years, and see what your currency is. It's interesting that United's currency, in media terminologies, in footprints digital around the world, and in commercial opportunities is still relatively sizable, given their performances and the degradation of the brand and the achievements has been so significant over recent years.
Yes.
I mean, you could make that argument for Liverpool. I mean, the patience that Liverpool fans have exhibited, they won a Champions League and they won an FA Cup, they won a League Cup, but they didn't win a Premier League for 30 years.
You see, this is exactly the point as to why we are talking about Manchester. Could you imagine Real Madrid in this predicament at the moment? No Europe, coupled with early cup exits.
No.
What will we do? And Florentino Perez saying to Arbeloa, the new man, I tell you what we'll do. We'll go to Saudi Arabia and play some team and get a bunch of money. That'll help us.
He was the architect behind.
Desperate.
Yeah, he was the architect behind the new European Super League. So what are you on about?
Yeah.
He was already in that camp, suggesting that there should be a complete sea change of what Real Madrid should participate in, what shouldn't do. Yeah. Real Madrid don't want to play in competitions that they've been scheduled to play in. Real Madrid don't want to turn up at Ballon d'Ors because their players don't win. Don't use them as an example.
Anyway, but thanks for joining me during that discussion there about Manchester United. Highly relevant, don't you think? We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.